Welcome to Beyond the Valley, a CNBC tech podcast with Arjun Kharpal and Tom Chitty.
Beyond the Valley.
As someone with good eyesight, I don't need glasses, nor have I ever wanted to wear them. But could that be about to change? The latest augmented and mixed reality glasses look like regular spectacles, but are built with technology that imposes digital experiences over the real world. And excitement is growing around these personal computers on our face. Their emergence is seen by many tech companies as the next big consumer product after the smartphone.
Beyond the Valley.
First off, let's introduce our guest for this week. His name is Chi Xu, and he is CEO of Xreal, a Chinese augmented reality firm. Backed by Alibaba, their latest model of AR glasses is called the Xreal One Series, and according to the company, are the world's first cinematic AR glasses with complete spatial screen control. Earlier this year, the company revealed it had received $60 million in new funding, which it claims makes it an AR glasses unicorn. Chi, thank you for joining us on Beyond the Valley.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into it, we're going to first play Stat of the Week, so I'll pass it over to Arjun.
$460 million.
$460 million.
Okay.
Did you get that, G?
Yep.
Before we get into the product that you've just released, give us a little bit of background on the company. It wasn't always called Xreal, so tell us when and how did it start?
Okay, so the company was previously called Unreal. And the name we're choosing for that is because that's the word between real and unreal. So the kind of idea is very straightforward. We want to create this kind of seamless blending of the real reality and the virtual objects and virtual information. We believe that's going to be the next computing platform. And we're also thinking the future going from the mobile internet is going to be spatial internet. So AR glasses is probably the best platform for that. And almost like 8 years earlier, we started this company, and it has been so far, yeah. And I think 2 years ago, we upgraded the whole name, the company from Unreal to Xreal, because we're thinking, X is just cooler. And we've been always the pioneers start shipping this kind of lightweight consumer AR glasses from day one.
Tell us then, what is the Xreal One Series? Talk us through the product that you're releasing.
Okay, we're so excited about this generation, this new product. I think this is the biggest upgrade for Xreal history for sure, and it might also potentially be the biggest upgrade for consumer AR history. So we have this what we call a customized silicon. We call it X1 to really enable this universal spatial anchor capability for all the devices you can connect it to. And because of that chip, the audio, the visual, all this kind of experience you get, all around upgraded as well.
And Chi, just strip it right back down. Look, there's people who are listening today who may not know what augmented reality is, may not know what augmented reality glasses are. What exactly do they do? What are some of the things as a user you can do with them?
I think people have been seeing like the Iron Man movie, right? When you put on the Iron Man suit, you have like a digital agent who will talk to you, like Javas, right? And they can project some of the key information right in front of your eyes. So this is like a perfect blend of the mixed reality, the digital world with the reality. But this is not happening right now. What we can happening right now is we want to put a very kind of lightweight, small form factor of glasses, or just look like slightly bigger than the sunglasses. But with that, we have this wire where it can connect it to your cell phone, your PC, any kind of computing devices or gaming devices, and then we can reproject a massive like 200 screen in front of you, so you can play your game. You can watch your movies. You can even use as productivity glasses right away.
The use case for these, is it something that you see your customers wearing them kind of throughout the day, or is it for gaming and possibly cinematic experiences? Is that where you see the glasses being used?
So the glasses is not designed for all-day wearness. This is more like designed for all-day portable devices. So you carry that with you all the time. But from time to time, maybe in a coffee shop, maybe laying down in the couch, or maybe on the plane, you want to take out the glasses and put this, connected into your cell phone or gaming devices. Boom, you have a much bigger screen to enjoy with.
And cheap, they start around $499, right?
That's right.
So people might be listening and saying, well, why do I need to spend this money on sort of something that just gives me a big screen? Why don't I just, watch my big TV or game on my big TV? So when you think about the current state of glasses and you say, well, you get this great experience, this 200-inch cinematic screen, that's just the start as you think about it, right? What do you think comes next? What are you ultimately trying to aim for with this kind of product? Why should people care about it now, and why should they care about it in the future?
That's a great question. We have two separate product visions. Of course, in the eventually in future, which is in the long-term future, we think everybody gonna wear glasses. It's gonna be very similar to what I'm wearing today. It's just regular prescription glasses where you can, as we mentioned, blend those kind of reality with all the internet information. With that being said, it's basically like your cell phone. You don't need a cell phone anymore. You can put your AI agent, you can put all the other kind of smart features with that kind of platform. But it takes time. It takes an ecosystem to migrate from what we are having today, which is your cell phone, to the new platform. But we have a separate kind of a product vision. Can we actually build an accessory that we can use today, right away? Which is, can we have these glasses that can connect it to PC or cell phone or whatever you're having today? We call that spatial display. So for spatial display, the logic is very simple. People actually enjoy watching a big TV in your living room. But what if you are on the go? What if you actually can reproject this one on your ceiling while you're laying down in the couch? Or what if you actually want to have a living room TV kind of experience, or even bigger, better experience when you're on the plane, on the train, or even in the coffee shop? This is something we can create right away. And we think, this is only $499 compared to maybe, in my opinion, it's actually better than, a much pricier kind of TV set in your living room.
You said something interesting about ecosystems, which we're definitely going to get onto later in the episode. But I want to start by thinking about the technology as you see it. So right now, as you mentioned, we have these great displays that can be accessed through your product. When you think about the sort of mixed reality or augmented reality market more broadly, there are the glasses that yours and other companies are making, and then there's the headset side of the equation. And I'm thinking here about the Apple Vision Pro, and I had a chance to try that out this year. And you mentioned the Iron Man film. Of course, another film that comes to mind is Minority Report, right? Yep. The ability to kind of interact with those digital images in front of you. And that's something, of course, the Apple Vision Pro does very well. You can interact with your hands with these digital images. And that's very cool. But of course, that's a big headset that costs $3,500. But ultimately, and the other product here I want to mention is the Meta Orion glasses, which of course is a prototype and is not being sold to the public, but reportedly costs around $10,000 per unit to actually produce. So that's of course not sustainable as well. So is there a possibility in your view to get to the capabilities of Orion and of the Vision Pro in a glasses form factor at a much more affordable price?
Absolutely. That is our mission. And honestly, I think you will see that very soon. This is our vision for spatial computing. I totally agree with you. It's like, we think Xreal can make the best kind of a more affordable and lightweight hardware in the world. That meaning, very similar to Orion, we are building the optical see-through, what we call OST glasses, that can ultimately deliver like 80% of the VSC headset experience, like 80% of your Apple Vision Pro experience, but only like less than 20% of their cost in terms of, the weight, the price, and even, the ease to use. So that is our goal. And I think we're just around the corner to get there.
When you say just around the corner, I mean, how long are we talking? And just tacked on to that, I mean, what right now are the limiting factors? What is stopping that from happening? So how far and what's stopping that from happening?
I think it's going to happen within 2 years. We're talking hardware, man. So we're so excited. And I'm not just talking with, we actually holding something right now can just deliver that. We're just waiting for the right moment to really mass produce them and push them to the market. But I think you're spot on. Speaking of the spatial computing, not only you need a really kicking ass, I'm sorry, you really need a really good hardware, but in the meantime, you also need an ecosystem to pair with that. You need more native AR applications. You talk about Minority Report, right? People can actually use gesture to interact with different kind of contents, but we don't have that kind of application yet. We need a platform like the Android we're having or iOS we're having today, but that is dedicated for XR to get there. So we're hoping, very soon we'll see some really good platform to compare with our hardware to become this a total solution for spatial computing at a really, really much, much more affordable price and smaller form factor.
So, Chi, can I just clarify? Right now, you think that actually, from a hardware perspective, it's possible to get the experience of an Orion or a Vision Pro at a cheaper price point. But right now, you think the biggest limiting factor is really around the ecosystem, the software side of the equation.
I totally believe so. And because we have some prototype already have that, so we're very excited to bring those into market in the near future.
On the ecosystem front, there is a lack of apps and the platform that you're talking about available right now for AR glasses, and that the market is a little bit fragmented. But we know that Samsung have confirmed some sort of XR platform that's coming potentially with Google. Does this change the game?
Absolutely. I think it's a big opportunity. And I was hoping, Samsung won't be the only partner to work with Google, right? If, there's going to be an open platform in the near future, I think that has huge potential to become that kind of missing piece for spatial computing.
Chi, you have a software offering of your own, Nebula, as well. Is it just difficult for a player like you alone to kind of create the ecosystem, in the sense that does it require, much like has happened in the hardware space, we've seen app stores and operating systems over the years on smartphone market come and go. Yep. And in the end, it's the big, massive platforms that have won out, the Google Play and Android, and of course iOS with the App Store as well. Does that need to happen in your market? And also, why can't it be Xreal that does that?
I think, in the world of ecosystem, volume is everything. So it means a lot to your developers because they know they can make profit out of this one. So that's why ultimately I think, we have to find the right partner to tackle this kind of problem, because for spatial computing, we mean this is not just on us. This is more on, ecosystem player, application player, and hardware player all together. And what we are good at is really, as we mentioned, building this really affordable kind of lightweight devices. I think we're really good at. We just want to work with the best to be there. And in that case, Nebula, that can be an evolution to maybe another version of the Android XR.
Let's dig a little bit deeper on the engineering front. What are the biggest challenges with a product like this in terms of trying to take what the Apple Vision Pro is able to do and fitting it into a pair of what looks like a pair of Ray-Bans, right?
Yep.
And apologies if you don't want it to look like Ray-Bans. But, what needs to happen to be able to do that from an engineering perspective?
So you have to make trade-offs. I think the biggest issue we're having, or if we consider, Apple Vision Pro can be more successful, if they should have done something better, I think it's making trade-offs, because they are really stacking every features into this kind of headset. And that ultimately became such a, kind of a pain for people to wear for a long time. Experience-wise, I think it's great. But do we really need like 10 different camera sensors to get there? Can we actually get, a much fewer sensors, compute to deliver a similar kind of experience? And that requires, in my opinion, a lot more optimization from engineering perspective, from the hardware perspective. And also for your product manager, you need to make the right call to really strip off some of the features there. So that is kind of, our philosophy from day one. We think only the glasses form factor makes sense. So we have to make the right call to decide whether we actually want to put into the smaller form factor and what really matters to the customer if they really use that on a daily basis. Yeah, and then you need to keep pushing for something you really believe in and make sure that can get smaller and smaller. For example, we are making really compact, a lightweight display module there. And that gives you a really high resolution. So because, if we want to do that, and there's no existing kind of solution, we build two factories in-house to not only design the optical engine, but also manufacture them ourselves.
What are some of the trade-offs that you've had to make as you approach the sort of more advanced version of your product?
Well, one of the biggest trade-off we're making is, Apple Vision Pro and also Quest are using VST technology, what we call video see-through. So basically, you use sensors to capture your reality and then mix with the kind of virtual content and reproject them in front of your eyes. That requires a lot of compute. That also requires a lot of camera sensors as well. We are doing the other opposite, what we call this optical see-through. Basically, we don't really want to capture the reality. We only want to reproject the virtual object into the reality. This way, the compute is lesser, but you have to making sure the latency is much more sensitive. So you have to making sure you can get much better response for all your kind of computation there. So that's why we build a chip dedicated for that, which give us the minimum kind of motion to photon latency you can possibly get from the industry. And we actually see a very interesting kind of transition for even Orion being a OST glasses as well. So we actually see, more and more people start to realize maybe VSE is too much. You have to migrate from the VST technology to a more easier and lighter weight kind of OST glasses. Well, that's, just one perspective. And there's actually some other kind of trade-offs you can make. And with all those kind of combined, you think you can actually, shrink the kind of a bigger headset into a more affordable and reasonable glasses form factor.
Gee, let's talk about the chip that you just mentioned, the X1. This is one of the biggest upgrades you've made to your latest series of glasses.
Yep.
You call it a co-processor.
Yep.
Because, it's working in tandem with the device that the glasses are connected to and the processor on board that device. But why has designing your own chip for these glasses been something you've put your efforts into?
Because you couldn't find any kind of existing chip off the shelf that can do this job. So if you really want to, improve the performance to the next level, you have to figure out maybe we have to do this on ourselves. So if you think about the early days of iPhone, or even even early days of Tesla, or even early days of drone company like DJI. So if you really wanna make an experience that is a much more better than the average supply chain kind of experience, you have to come up with your own stuff, right? So we realize, okay, we're already the biggest kind of market leader for this kind of consumer AR glasses. Became this alpha player. So we have to make that kind of step further and push the boundary and build our own chip. As we mentioned, latency is everything. Can we build something, really improve that latency, improve the throughput between the wire, from the glasses to the hosting devices? And can we really improve the image and even audio quality because of this co-processor? And then we'll have this idea and we find the right partner. And it took us more than 3 years to finally get there, but we're so excited. Once we get there, you don't really see any other will have the same kind of quality and features anytime soon.
Gee, will there always be a wire between the headset and the device?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for now, wire is a must. If you really want to, reduce the weight on your head, if you still want to maintain kind of a glasses form factor, but going forward, at some point, we definitely want to get rid of the wire, starting at slowly reduce and improve the throughput between this wire. So if we figure out a co-processor running on the glasses, actually is a good starting point. Slowly you realize, okay, maybe the chip on your glasses will handle majority of the compute, then you don't need to send more data to your hosting devices. This what eventually will reduce the throughput at the level where you can do them wirelessly. And if you ask me when this is going to happen, I think, we're looking at, maybe 3 to 5 years. And you're going to see like the headphones, right? You go from the wired one to the wireless one. We'll see that happening for the glasses as well.
Because this is all about on-device AI. You spoke about Iron Man and Jarvis and these personal assistants, and all the smartphone makers are talking about their personal assistants and AI chatbots. And, they all say this term on-device AI, and that requires the processors on the device to be a lot more powerful than they are now.
Absolutely.
For true on-device AI experiences, so that doesn't have to be computed on the cloud, right?
Yep.
And so, but the smartphones and other devices are bigger. They can contain these chips, which perhaps are a little bit more powerful than what you can fit in the glasses. So, is that one of the big challenges and breakthroughs that you're working towards? Is how to get a really powerful processor in the glasses form factor, able to run these very difficult and intensive computes?
Well, I also want to say, even not only you want that to be very powerful, you also want that to be very power efficient, because we're talking about glasses. Power is actually a big challenge for building lightweight glasses as well. So we'll make a decision. We can either build this chip that can handle everything, or we can work and partner with some of the leaders on the silicon, like Qualcomm, to come up with a total solution together. So right now, that's why we're calling this a co-processor, because we don't really want to replace, as you mentioned, there might be more advanced kind of a process technology required, which requires a lot of investment to finally get there. I think, eventually we want to work with the best in terms of silicon to come up with a total solution there, not just on us.
Chi, let's talk a little bit about the camera, the built-in camera in the glasses. And obviously these glasses are designed to look like regular glasses, right? They you could walk down the street and, passers-by may not be aware that you are wearing a computer on your face with a camera built in.
Right.
I think this, as someone who doesn't actually like to be in the background of anyone's photo, this does raise some privacy concerns. How do you address those concerns?
That's a great question. I think, that's a very, very serious issue. We have to take this very cautiously. That's why we're building these glasses. You have a modularized camera. You can take them off for majority of the time. And if you really want to use the camera, maybe for recording a video for AI capabilities, you can put them on, and we'll have an indicator to tell the people surrounding that there's actually a camera recording on the air. So, but if you ask me in the future, I think, people need to adjust sometimes to the technology. If you look at that, if you remember the early days of the cell phone, when they start adding cameras to the back of the phone, there's a lot of concerns about that as well. And nowadays we just see, more and more cameras staging, on the same phone, and people are still kind of used to that kind of scenario. I think the key thing is not recording the content. The key thing is, do we have a mechanism to really protect your privacy? And we're not sending those kind of data to the cloud. We maybe just, use that purely for the AI kind of capability, like, for each human being, your eye can actually see, maybe people's eye can see you, but that doesn't mean we're going to record you. But we might, subtract some of the useful information out of that kind of video, and we're not really preserve and save any kind of your data, to the cloud or to the devices at all.
Chi, let's get back to Xreal and the business. What are your expectations in terms of sales of your products in 2025?
Well, we're thinking, recently our year-over-year kind of growth is very close to 100%. So, of course, we want to get more than 100% growth for 25, and that's going to give us closely maybe to 500K units. But, the true milestone for us is really how can we get 1 million kind of units per year mark. I think that's going to be a very big kind of milestone for us, and not only for us, but also for the consumer AR market. We still haven't seen any kind of, AR glasses that has the display like us has really taken off yet, but I think it's just around the corner, especially, with a more powerful kind of hardware that can work on spatial computing. You can totally see that in the next couple of years.
And which markets are you particularly focused on? Are there ones that you're seeing, excitement around your products in particular?
Actually, we're a quite global company. We start selling in the US, in Europe, in Japan, Korea, China. So the number one unified market is, of course, United States. This is the biggest market. But the most interesting one, in my opinion, is Japan. We have a much, much higher kind of penetration in Japanese market because I think people just love this kind of cool gadget. And we actually learn a lot by talking with those customers. I think it will set an example for better promoting our glasses to the rest of the world, like US and Europe and China.
And Chi, you've got some very interesting investors in your company, including Alibaba as well. Are you planning on more funding as you look to invest in more silicon and invest in the next generation of hardware?
Absolutely. I think new investors are also always welcome, but sometimes not only you want the money, you want the right partner to stand with you for the rest of the journey. So we will be looking for some of the right kind of strategic partners that can carry with us for the next kind of challenge. Not only on the silicon side, but for more challenging and bigger kind of competition in the AR world.
Chi, thanks so much for talking to us about Xreal and the new glasses that have come out. Before we get to Stat of the Week, I just wanted to touch on something that I looked back in your past working experience, and back in September 2014, you interned at Nvidia for 5 months as a GPU architecture intern. GPU, right, for our listeners, stands for Graphics Processing Unit. What was that experience like? And I suppose the follow-up question, did you see the success that was coming down the road for that company?
Wow. Okay, that's a great question. I was actually, my PhD is about CPU and GPU architecture. So that is supposed to be my go-to job, go to the largest kind of GPU company in the world back then. But back then, surprisingly, Intel is still like the biggest kind of Silicon company in the world. And you have to look up to that, giant company. You never thought that one day, they will switch like this. And I know Nvidia is a great company. We have a lot of great people, but you never predict it will take off that fast, that big, like we're having today. And I have to give credit to the AI, blockchain, all those kind of stuff. But sometimes it's just a very interesting kind of turnaround for CPU and GPU, right? 10 years earlier, CPU is definitely massive and big. But today, because of the application they changed, GPU is definitely a much, much bigger thing for now.
When you were at Nvidia, was there any talk in your short time there? Was there talk at that point that actually the GPU, back then Nvidia was this company that gamers knew about because of the graphics processing units in the PCs and consoles and stuff. Was there any talk back then when you were there that actually GPUs could be the future architecture for AI?
I think it was just on the verge of that. We're just starting to evaluate some of the AI applications and also the computer vision. But this is definitely not this iteration. You remember the early days, you have the AlphaGo, right? You still have some sort of AI, but not the Gen AI era. But still, this is tiny. Back then, we still have another trend. We think, there will be less gamers, and integrated GPU will get more and more popular, because Intel is building a lot of integrated GPU there. Maybe at some point, Intel will take over the entire GPU world. But on the other hand, just AI took off, blockchain take off, so it just another different kind of turnaround for GPU and CPU today.
What a different story. As we spoke, I think just a few days prior, the CEO of Intel, has retired, and the company's stock price has been hammered, and there's question marks over its immediate future. So, absolutely incredible business story, really.
Absolutely. Chi, it's been brilliant chatting with you. Before we let you go, we've got to play Stat of the Week. So I'll pass over to Arjun.
Which I'll remind you is $460 million.
So, Chi, you can decide to go first with your guess, or you can nominate me to go first. It's up to you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I hate going first. $460 million. The investment so far into mixed reality headsets.
Chi, your guess?
Number of the total headset ever sold so far?
Right, so you're both wrong.
Don't worry, I'm always wrong.
Tom hasn't won one of these in months, I think, at this point. But the answer is VC investment into metaverse, AR, and VR companies as of June 2024. What's interesting about that is down from $4 billion in 2021.
Interesting.
Chi, why do you think that is? I mean, 2021 was, of course, an exceptional year in terms of just more broadly to set the context here. But there is also a sense of the broader idea of the metaverse after, Meta's rebranding and the amount of money they're spending hasn't quite taken off yet.
Yep.
And so there's companies like yourselves who've managed to survive and continue to build, but there's probably a lot of projects that didn't quite work out. And maybe investors right now are worried about, valuations and investing. What's your view from the industry?
I think there's mainly two reasons. First is the rising of the Gen AI. There's a lot of focus have been shifting going from the metaverse to AI and AI related kind of hardware. And the second thing will be probably the disappointment coming out of the Meta and Apple Vision Pro, right? People are actually having a much higher expectation for those kind of headset and devices, and it just haven't been there yet. And if you ask me, for any kind of frontier technology, it goes ups and downs. But if you truly believe in this, over time, it will eventually get there. And hopefully we can, as a startup, we can really manage our pace and making sure we'll be there eventually when that is taking off.
Brilliant stuff, Chi. Thank you so much for your time and all your insight today. We really appreciate it. That's it for this episode. If you want to contact Arjun and I or have a question about a past episode, then email us at beyondthevalley@cnbc.com. Before we go, please follow and subscribe to the show, and you can even leave us a review. And I also should add that next week is our final podcast of the year, where we will do our top tech predictions for 2025, which is always a popular episode, so stay tuned for that one. But for now, thank you, Chi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, Tom.
We'll be back next week for another episode of Beyond the Valley. Goodbye.
Beyond the Valley.